And I spent 18 years parenting the child I thought I had instead of the child I actually had. If you go to a different country, would you learn the language of the people, or would you expect everyone to adapt to your language? If you want to truly respect others, you want to treat them the way they were meant to be treated. Having that kind of effect on someone and being able to really empower people to be the best version of themselves.
Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey, the podcast where we share valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts and be part of this journey. Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Good day and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. We are so happy that you've decided to join us again for another episode. Michelle Lee is an award-winning certified bank coach and licensed trainer, international best-selling author, keynote speaker, and networking ninja. She has more than 30 years of experience in corporate sales and many years in network marketing and direct sales. Implementing bank, she took her startup company from zero to over $2 million in less than 3 years. Bank also saved her relationship with her son. Seeing the power of bank, Michelle knew she had found her purpose and her passion. Her mission is to empower the lives of every person she touches and have a ripple effect so others can learn to live their best life ever, having financial and time freedom and the best relationships possible. Welcome, Michelle. How are you?
Hi, I'm fantastic. I'm excited to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us today. So we are very, very happy to be here with you, and we can't wait to learn more about your business. And I know people heard me saying bank, bank, bank. So we will talk about, we'll talk more about what that means. But first, let's go through our rapid fire segment. Can you tell us 2 words that describe you? One that describes you now, and one you would have used to describe yourself as a child.
Empowered and strong. And what described me as a child? Wow, the opposite of that.
So you'd say you've changed a lot between then and now?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, great. And what's the name of your business and how long have you been in business?
It's Michelle Lee Business Coaching, and it's been about 7 years.
Great. And what were you doing before you started your business?
Oh, I was drowning. I had lost my job and pretty much had to sell everything I owned, move my 2 small kids. And in the process, I had started the old company that I had, literally hopes, prayers, dreams, and a lot of credit cards because I had no money and I was drowning. And it all led me to where I am today. So God has a plan, and you got to take the journey and just kind of embrace it, all of it. And I actually ended up here by accident, I like to say.
Oh, wow. It sounds like there's quite a story there. So I can't wait to hear more about that. But before we do that, so for your current business, are you full-time or part-time?
Full-time. I love what I do.
Great. Let's see. And since you've been in business, what is the best moment you've had in business?
Best moment. Oh my gosh. There's so many of them. I would say the best moment was hearing my clients and the results that they get with their business and their life, having that kind of effect on someone and being able to really empower people to be the best version of themselves.
Yes, empowerment is so, so important, and it makes such a huge difference. For instance, you talked earlier about where you were before you started. So a lot of empowering went on there. So I just can't wait to hear about bank. But two more questions before we do that. What is the opposite in terms of like, what is the lowest low that you've had in business so far?
Prior to me getting into what I'm currently doing, I mean, before that, like I said, I had to literally sell everything I owned. I was at the lowest I could possibly be at. I was struggling with my relationships. I was struggling with my business. I wasn't making any money, and I didn't know how I was going to even pay my bills. And I describe it as when I had to get rid of everything I owned, we had truckloads of, an auction guy would come in and he took truckloads of everything we had. I had to tell my kids, like, listen, if we haven't used it, we're getting rid of it. And it was like, kind of like having a fire and losing everything, but it was kind of like self-inflicted. Like I had to do it. I had to do it to survive. And it taught me a lot.
Oh, those are real moments there. And I'm sure some, or maybe all our listeners listening can probably relate in some sense. Is there a movie that you'd recommend or a book?
Oh my gosh. So, wow. That's a great question. So many books. One of my favorite authors is Robin Sharma. There was one called the 5 a.m. Club that was really empowering, and it really put focus into tapping into everything. And some people are like, well, I don't want to start at 5 a.m. And you don't have to, but that's when you're most productive. But really feeling into your heart set, your soul set, your mindset, your health set, like all of those things. And that's pretty much what he focuses on. But I love all of his books.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for sharing that. And we're going to now move on to the begin segment. And, we talked a lot about bank in your introduction. We've talked a lot about your experiences in business and in life. And I just wanted to kind of maybe now, if you can tell us a little bit about what bank means and how maybe that helped empower you.
So bank is reverse engineered personality science. And bank is an acronym for the 4 personality types. And we call them blueprint, action, nurturing, and knowledge. And every single human is made up of all 4 of those codes. And each position means something. So when you unlock someone's bank code, you unlock their heart, their operating system, their core values. It was originally designed to predict buying behavior in less than 90 seconds. But what we found is it was unlocking the key to humanity. We like to say one world, one language. Everyone has a bank code and everyone can speak and learn to speak in the language of the person sitting across from them so that they're able to connect, empower, and communicate effectively in any situation. When I found out about bank, I came into it for sales because I was drowning in my own business. I didn't even know what I signed up for. And as soon as I went through the first day of the class, I realized not only why I was struggling so much in sales and in my own business, but why I was struggling in my own relationships at home with my son. We were wired completely different from start to finish. So we could never communicate in the same language, and it would escalate all of our fights. And I spent 18 years parenting the child I thought I had instead of the child I actually had, even though I knew everything about him. What I was missing was how he was wired. And so when I found bank, I not only realized I wasn't broken, I realized that I was able to become the best version of myself. And I was able to look at people and love them more, love them the way they were meant to be loved, love them the way they were meant to be communicated to, so that I would have less stress. We would have less fights. And although I can't go back and change those 18 years, I can go now and look at the future and make up for all that time that I lost.
Wow, yes. And it sounds like that made quite a difference. And you now approach those relationships a lot differently. And what does your son have to say about the impact that has had on him and your relationship now?
It's unbelievable. And it was in seconds. Like as soon as we understood how each of us were wired, we were able to take that judgment down. We were able to understand each other for the first time ever. So yes, it grew my business astronomically, right? And in way less time. I would have never been able to accomplish the things I did in my business without Bank. In my personal lives, all of my relationships were healed, even from the past. It's not personal, it's personality.
I know that we had a conversation before this podcast episode, and I was just so fascinated by the way you were able to tell me so much about myself by knowing what my bank code is. And so can we just maybe kind of use me as not an experiment, but just let's focus on what my code is and what you can actually tell about me through the code. Let's go ahead and do that.
So your bank code is nurturing, and then blueprint, knowledge, and action. So when you look at someone's bank code, that first position is their dominant code, nurturing. You truly care about people, making this world a better place, about the relationships, about personal growth, all of those things. The second position plays a huge role of who you are, who you aspire to be. Blueprint. Blueprints are inside the box. They need things like structure and stability and systems and planning, processes. They don't like risk, right? So when you look at your bank code, you're all about helping people, making a difference. Also, you like to have predictability. You like to know what's next. What's the next step? You have it mapped out. There's a schedule.
Yes, that is so true.
And when people don't follow that step or give you the next step, it can be frustrating. Your nurturing doesn't want to have conflict because you care about those relationships. So blueprint wants that structure, that stability, that feeling of safety.
Right. And then what does the third positioning mean?
The third position typically represents someone under stress. And the fourth position is typically what they stay away from. So when people come at you and just data dump, give you way too much information, are colder, it can trigger you or tripwire you, I should say. Or if they come at you and run you over with their action personality, which is your last code, that can also cause that disconnect.
It's really amazing how you learn a lot more about yourself by hearing that. You're really telling me a lot about myself here. So I would agree that I am nurturing. I love structure. I do like action too, but the others definitely come before the action. And knowledge. I love gaining knowledge as well. But yes, I could see how the nurturing and the blueprint are very much dominant. And if you were to coach somebody like me, how would that change your approach?
I think of it this way. If you go to a different country, would you learn the language of the people, or would you expect everyone to adapt to your language? It's all about connecting. So I'm still being my authentic self. Remember, we're all four of these codes. But what happens is when I meet you, I know I don't want to run you over with my action and go 100 miles an hour because there'll be a disconnect. So I want to meet you where you are. I want to talk a little slower for your blueprint. Make sure that you connect the dots, right? But first and most important is I want to connect to your heart. Some people aren't about emotions or about that connection. They want to get right to business. So if you give people that emotional piece, it can turn them off. I want to connect with you in that nurturing place of, hey, let's really get to know each other. Let's take that time.
And do you mind sharing what your bank code is?
My bank code is action, nurturing, knowledge, blueprint.
Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. So we're like on different sides here. I start with nurturing. You start with action. So basically you kind of acting outside of yourself in a sense to be able to speak with me.
No, I'm actually just tapping in to the other pieces of me so that we can connect and communicate. It's like I shift from my action that speaks French to instead my English that speaks nurturing. So in my son's case, he is the exact opposite. Blueprint, knowledge, nurturing, and then action. So from start to finish, we were always on the wrong language. We could not communicate to save our lives. We now talk on the phone for hours. He actually just sent me flowers for my birthday. And what's so interesting about that is that he was so upset because Blueprint, remember, Blueprint's first, right? Because they wouldn't deliver my flowers on my birthday. And he said, I don't understand knowledge. This doesn't make sense. His Blueprint, they should be able to deliver them on your birthday. So even on the card that he sent me, it said, happy early birthday, Mom. If I was sending something to someone and it came early for their birthday, I would never put that. I would just put happy birthday, right? But that Blueprint piece of him was like, it's going to be early. It's not the actual day. So when I communicate with him, one, I have to slow down. He comes from a headspace. Blueprint and knowledge, they make decisions based on what they think, not what they feel. So I have to take the emotion out of it. I have to slow down. I have to have my thoughts in order, and I have to present it to him in a way that makes sense. Where when I would come at him in action, I was just throwing stuff at him so quickly. I was running him over and stressing him out and tripwiring him every single day of his life that he didn't know what to ever expect from me. I ran over his core values every single day. Like I would take him to the toy store and I'd surprise him. I'd pick him up early from school. My youngest son loved it. He would have a meltdown in the car. And I was like, I don't understand. You got out of school early. We're going to the toy store. We're going to have fun. And we'd get there and I'd blow through the toy store, breaking every rule. Blueprints love rules. They follow the rules. They want stability. I was the most unstable mom you could think of, right? I'm tearing through the toy store, pushing the buttons, shooting hoops, riding around on the little bike. And he's in tears. And I'm chalking it up to he doesn't want to spend time with me. He doesn't love me. I'm coming from the emotional space. He's coming from a space of, I don't know what to expect. What's next? This is risky. We're going to get in trouble. This wasn't on my plan. I had my schedule mapped out and she blew up my day.
And if we apply that to business, I guess when we meet with clients, I'm trying to figure out, for instance, you're a coach. What would you tell me that would help me approach my clients differently?
So when you're looking at, have you ever heard people deal with people they know, like, and trust?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever wonder what makes them know, like, and trust you?
I don't know. I don't think I've thought about that.
When personalities align, you automatically have that connection. I've bought from people I just met.
Mm-hmm.
Because we aligned. Our values aligned. They spoke the same language as me. When you're dealing with a client, whether you're coaching someone, your prospect, they're your customer, everyone wants to be seen, heard, and understood. But if we aren't speaking to them in a language that they understand or hearing them in their own language, that can't take place. Based on our bank codes, we all have filters, which is why people get tripwired and triggered when they're not speaking the same language. So in coaching people, have you heard people say, know your audience, speak their language? If you don't know their bank code, how are you going to do that?
And if I am a new business owner and I'm trying to figure out who makes up my niche, can you apply what you do through the bank code in helping me identify that?
Absolutely. Because you have an audience that you are trying to reach. Now, it depends on what you're selling, what your product or service is, and who your ideal client is. Some people actually attract their complete opposite code, which makes the sales process even harder. So, for example, one of my friends' productivity coach, well, he doesn't attract people who are high in blueprint. That's his dominant code. He attracts his complete opposite code because of what he does, which makes it very frustrating when they're communicating or when he's trying to do the sales process, right? So when you're able to understand who is your ideal avatar, and more importantly, what is their bank code? How do you attract on social media? What code are you speaking on social media? What code is your profile on social media? Everything has a bank code. So when you can target your ideal audience and speak directly to them in their language, everything becomes easier.
But then if I'm trying to target some people, they won't all have the same bank code, would they?
So when you want to make a bigger impact in the world, you want to learn how to speak a rainbow of the colors. You want to learn how to speak all 4 codes. If you want to work with all of those people, some people choose not to. My goal is to make it so that you can have a bigger impact and you can speak all the languages and bring the people into you, right? But some people don't want to, and it's their business. They can work with whoever they choose to. When you're looking at who are your current clients, what are their codes? Are they your code? Are you attracting your exact code? That would be the low-hanging fruit. Now, how do you go out and make a bigger impact? How do you reach more people? How do you speak the language of all of the people? You got to be able to meet them where they are.
That is very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. So I hope that we've learned a lot about how to speak with people. And when I'm saying that, I'm thinking some people might think that's maybe we're manipulating people a little bit. So maybe you want to address that, where it's not manipulation, it's understanding.
It is not manipulation at all. It is understanding people. It's out of respect. Just like I mentioned about going to a foreign country. Would you expect them to learn your language, or would you learn the language of those people? If you want to truly respect others, you want to treat them the way they were meant to be treated, not how I assume you should be treated. Look what happened with my own son. I assumed he would be just like me, just like we all think everyone is. However, people are different.
As an accountant, I can see how maybe if I have because there's a questionnaire that you have, or what is it, where basically you put in some information and the person can generate their code?
Yes. So they have 4 cards that they can sort, takes less than 90 seconds, and then they get a free report. There's actually 24 different positions of these cards, which is why in business, people think sales is a numbers game. Mathematically, it is, unless you can crack the code.
So it sounds like I can be having a meeting like we are meeting right now. You would have your code maybe next to your name. I have my code next to my name. So we're always reminded of each other's codes. And then we can now really speak with each other in each other's language, it sounds like.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And that leads to a more impactful meeting, I would say.
Yes.
All right. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. So we did this, episode was a little bit different just because I see what you have as a very good resource for business people. So I wanted to make sure that we kind of cover that a lot more in depth so that we can learn how that can help us in business. But before we go, I just wanted to learn a little bit more about your business itself. Your business journey itself. So can you tell us a little bit more about when you decided you actually wanted to become an entrepreneur?
Well, I was an entrepreneur in my last business after I lost my job of corporate for 28 plus years. And so I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just wasn't in the right space. I was in a brick and mortar. I was in a manufacturing facility and trying to grow that business. When I ended up learning about bank and going through the coaching program for the first time, and I heard what their mission was to connect and empower people. And I saw what difference it made in my own self-awareness, my own growth as a person, and my own relationship with the people around me, especially with my son. I knew that that's when I really wanted to get certified in this methodology. And I grew my other business. I sold the business. And this was it. I was a coach and a trainer. And my goal was to empower people everywhere. It was the best decision I ever made to become entrepreneur in this space, and I love every minute of it.
Great. And can you tell us maybe, so we've learned about how it helped you personally, also how it helped you transition in business, but can you just maybe tell us a little bit about one of your clients that you've worked with and some of the changes that they were able to make on their end?
Absolutely. So one of my clients, after 30 days, she came back and said, I've increased my sales 400%. She goes, but that's not the best thing that happened. I said, well, tell me more. She said, it saved my relationship with my husband. I had another client that I just talked to the other day who said, I get it. I understand. I'm not judging people anymore. I'm able to accept them where they are. I'm able to communicate in a way that we're both heard and understood. And it's changed everything.
And I remember after the last conversation I had with you, I left feeling the same way. And that was just after maybe a few minutes of conversation. And I really felt heard. I realized that you came in knowing enough about, just because you knew my code, you knew enough about me to actually help structure, I would say, the conversation. And I just felt like so much came out in a short space of time, just because you kind of came in already knowing me. And I've told myself that I now need to learn more about persons with other codes or just all codes in general, so that as I meet people and I know, hopefully we know each other's code and we can just have better conversations, because it really works. And how can we get more people to know their code so that we can all kind of have that to work with? It's quite a resource.
Well, we can share the link and they can get a free report and they can crack their code and find out how they're wired.
All right. And in terms of the services that you provide, if somebody wants to work with you, just tell us a little bit more about that.
I provide a coaching program. I provide trainings and also state-of-the-art technology and on-demand training that they can really use it to implement in their life and business. Implementation is the key.
Okay. And as small business owners, I guess I could see how like a big corporation could bring you in for training and you can, like a team building event. But for business owners like ourselves, is it that we undergo the training, we undergo the coaching, and then that will probably help with the business now and as the business grows? Or are there other ways you could see how we can incorporate your services?
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't matter if it's a solopreneur or a huge enterprise account. It's all about being able to truly understand people and connect with them. So in our coaching program, we actually go through 6 levels of intelligence, and one builds on top of each other. So we're actually looking at personality intelligence and building in sales, emotional, business intelligence, artificial intelligence, and topping off with spiritual. So you're becoming the best version of yourself. In the training pieces, we have I train people in sales, relationships, being able to determine who that person is just by looking at them, by what they're wearing, what their background is, their body language. All of those things come into play, even tone they use. And then we have classes all the way up to communication mastery and certification programs for people as well.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. So we've come to our closeout segment. I mean, we've talked about it quite a bit, but if you want to add 3 other tips that you'd like to share, like new business owners or people who have been in business for a while, and they just need that little bit of encouragement to keep going.
Absolutely. Embrace the journey. It's not how many times you fall down. It's how many times you can get back up and keep fighting. It's not personal. It's personality, and love more and judge less.
Thank you so much. And part of what we do with the community is to kind of connect guests with listeners. Is that something you'd be interested in, people reaching out to you?
Absolutely.
Great. And what's the best ways to do that?
They can find me on social media. They can connect me on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You'll find me under Michelle Lee Myrter.
All right. So I will definitely include that in the show notes. Well, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us today. And we really, really appreciate all the knowledge that we've learned. Have a good day and talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for listening to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. We hope today's conversation gave you the insights and inspiration you need to move forward on your own path. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. Do you have feedback? We'd love to hear from you at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com. Join us again next week for a new episode.